Either is okay. I don't have a preference. All right. Okay. They're just, yeah, they're just like children. They're quiet until you have to do something important, and then all of a sudden, all right. Thank you, Renee. It is such a pleasure to just be able to share some of what God has given me with you guys. I pray that you find it all beneficial and that it helps you to do whatever the next level God has for you to do in this season and the next. So I do have a good bit for you that He's given me. I'm excited about it. So I hope you guys are ready. Hopefully, you'll be able to take some good notes and you'll get some good flourishing from this. So I will share my presentation so that you guys can see it. It may come up a little bit small, so just be prepared for you to maybe have to blow it up a little bit. I'll do the best I can with it. Okay, okay. All right. Can you see it? It should be sharing from my side. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So we're dealing with time management skills to master success. So we're going to start from the very beginning. But I have a question first. Just something for you guys to just drop in the chat what your major goal is. Most of us have short-term goals, we have long-term goals, and then we have this one major goal that we want to accomplish. So if everybody could just drop one of your major or your major goal that you're really working to accomplish or that you would like to accomplish, especially that goal that seems like it's just so big that you don't have time to to do it. So if you'll begin to drop some of those in the chat, that would be great, and we can look at some of those because I want to make sure this will apply to everybody. But we're going to look at these goals. We're going to stare them down, and we're gonna walk them down so that we can manage the time that God has given us to actually master all of these goals that seem impossible. Home ownership and financial security for retirement. That is one of the those are some of the biggest goals that I've seen. One of the businesses that I own is a real estate business. I do have a team of people that I've had to put together to be able to help people because that goal is so big that I can't do it by myself. So yes, I do understand that. Let's see what else we have. Just waiting on a couple of other goals to come in. And as they come in, I'll try to, if I see them, I'll try to just highlight them. Um, yes, yes, yes. Business ownership, writing a book, financial security. I see, and I hear you. And some people don't realize that I saw the one about just organizing different areas in the home. That really can seem like a daunting task. Sometimes more than running a business by yourself. That's a lot. That's a lot. When you look at all of these things that have to be done. Yes, elevating credit score, lots of steps to that. Yes, health and wealth. Oh my goodness. Writing a book and in a program, a financial education. Yes, yes, Doris. Yes, we've got lots of major goals that we want to work on. Um, let's see. My video is off. Not sure what's going. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. All right. So I'm going to say this: not being able to manage our time can be considered ungodly. Let me tell you why. That was a hard thing for me to take in myself. But we have no excuse not to be able to manage our time. God literally started the Bible out with the roadmap to managing our time. The very first thing He put in the Bible was the roadmap to managing our time. If we start reading the Bible from the very first page, we have the roadmap within the first, honestly, 2 to 3 minutes. And that right there will change our lives. We're going to go through that, and I'm going to show you how to utilize that in your business and all of your goals and everything that you want to do that defines success to you. So, just for a second, um, we're going to just take a quick look at right at Genesis 1 and 1, um, where the first few days, God sets everything in order. But the reason I asked you guys what was your goal that you want to accomplish, that major goal, because God had a goal first before He started doing all these things that we're going to see right here in the Bible. The Bible later talks about where God says, "Before I even formed you in your mother's womb, I already knew you." We were His goal before He did anything. We were already the plan. And so from that goal, what God did, He set out in order to make everything ready and um, to make everything right for us to be able to not just God doesn't want us just accomplishing the goal, but He wants that goal to be set, to be firm and a firm foundation, and He wants that goal to be able to supply many seeds to produce other goals. Okay, and this is what He did. Day one, God established light, which is our energy source, right? Our vitamins, everything that we need to live, everything that the entire earth is established upon is the light, that energy source. The next thing He did was expansion, right? He separated um, the the sky and the water. He made this separation there. He then added dry land, and in day four he added light bearers. Light bearers are adding the extra stars in the sky Their light bearers are things that give light, but also things that reflect light. So the first 4 days, he did what you call bringing order to creation. In our goals, that's the first thing that we have to do. The first steps that we have to do is develop the order for our goal. Many times we see something and we're excited and we just jump right into it. And as soon as we delve right in there, then we realize, wait a minute, this is a lot more than what I can chew. Oh man, this obstacle came up. Oh no, here's that roadblock. Many times, now some of those things are going to come up. However, if we take the time to put everything in order from the very beginning, a lot of those things will be taken care of. It was no coincidence that God started with the energy source. He is our energy source. So the very first thing that we need to make sure that we have in place before we try to accomplish any goal is to make sure that we are connected to our source, because that's who's going to feed us. That's who's going to make sure that we stay healthy, make sure that everything is right with us before we start on this journey. Um, then you'll notice that day 5, that's when he added the fish and the birds. Day 6, after he had done everything else, now he has the grass, he has the trees, all those things are there now. Everything that we need to supply the oxygen. He even has the wind blowing now. The wind is blowing so that we don't even have to plant anything. With the grass and the trees, the fruit bearing trees, everything that we need. He already has done what you call systemizing. He implemented a system to manage everything. And then he brought us on the scene. Then he created us. And after that, he rested because his goal at this point had been accomplished. Not only was it accomplished, but it was good. And that's very important. And we're going to talk about that. The very beginning of the world was created using a method that did three things: it created balance, it implemented systems, and it taught the importance of intentionality. Everything that God did was intentional. Every single thing. From the order that he did everything to the way that the plants came up from the ground. He knew that we were going to walk the ground. He was intentional about making sure that everything was here and that his system was working perfectly. He went back and checked everything. I did that. That's good. I worked on this all day. That's good. He went back and checked every single thing along the way. He didn't just do a bunch of things. He didn't just go, for example, being a realtor. I know that a lot of people work on. They know that a lender might say, "Hey, you need to work on your credit. You need to get your credit right." So what do? They go and pay off all of their credit cards, right? Pay them all down to zero. Well, if you've ever been through the home ownership process, you know that that's not a good thing to do. To just go pay off everything and put it back at zero, most people realize when it's too late that actually drops your credit score. There's a particular way that things have to be done. You have to be intentional because there's systems that are already in place. And as we are doing things, we don't just run out and just do things. We take our time, understand the system that's already in place, and fall right in line with the systems. What we're going to talk about today: what is intentionality, what is time blocking, and the tips for improving your productivity. All right. What is intentionality? This is what drove God to create the systems that He created to bring us here so that we could sustain life. The God of Israel is often described as intentional, meaning that He is purposeful and deliberate in all that He does. From the creation of the world, God's plans are carefully crafted and executed with great care. This intentionality is reflected in the scriptures. That's what we just kind of talked about a little bit in the very beginning in Genesis, how God was so intentional, the way that He crafted and executed His plan with great care. As we go about trying to put the steps in place to accomplish our goals, are we doing them with great care? Are we executing everything with great care, or are we just throwing water at a fire? Are we just throwing it, hoping that it goes out? Or are we very intentional? Are we crafty about how we're doing this? Are we deliberate in our plans? The system that God used is the same system that we have to use. It's called time blocking. Now, scholars, of course, they some people say, hey, when God said day one, he's talking about 24 hours. Some people say when he says day, he's just talking about a season of time, an age of time. That part doesn't matter. What matters is you understand that you have to break everything down in what you call time blocking. Time blocking, I know this is a little small. Hopefully, you guys are able to blow it up enough to see it. Time blocking is a productivity strategy that involves breaking up your day into blocks of time dedicated to specific tasks or activities. This technique can help you prioritize your work. It helps you stay focused and manage your time more efficiently. By creating a schedule and sticking to it, you can avoid distractions, interruptions, and ensure that you are making progress towards your goals. I'm going to stop here for a second. So here's typically what's all involved in my day. So I'm a real estate business owner. I also have a team of 7 agents under me. Then I also have a team of people that I work with to get my buyers and sellers taken care of. I have a transaction coordinator. I have lenders. I have home inspectors, the whole nine. I also run a party rental business with commercial bouncy houses and all concessions and all that good stuff. I'm a substitute teacher. I'm in several ministries at the church. I'm in a small group and I run a small group. Um, what else? I have a couple of extra different businesses that I do on the side. You name it, I do it. My daughters, I have 3 daughters. They're in dance, they're in theater. Um, And with my team of agents that's under me, for example, I'm responsible for training them weekly. I'm responsible for educating myself at least 2 times weekly. That's a lot, but that's not even half of it. But that's a lot to try to tackle in a day's time, to try to touch on all of these things. You have clients to follow up with. You have to research these different situations and these different programs. It's a ton of things to do. How how in the world am I able to do all of this? I get asked all the time, how do you sleep? When do you sleep? When do you stop? Well, here's the thing. Yes, I do a lot, but I get a lot done. There's a big difference between doing a lot and getting a lot done. Most of the reasons that we struggle with getting the success that we are looking for is because we're just doing a lot, but we're not really getting a lot done. And that reason is because we're not time blocking. My day, from the very first moment that I wake up, is already planned. It's planned from the moment I wake up to the time I go to sleep. If you were to see my actual time blocking schedule right now, you would see that it begins as soon as I wake up with prayer, meditation. You'll see exercise on there, and then I read some kind of spiritual book, or inspirational book, something that feeds my soul, and I do some kind of exercise. Those are the first 5 moments of my day. I start from there. Then I have what I do next. Then I'm going to go into I after I've put something into myself, then I can deal with my children and make sure my wife is taken care of and get everything ready for my day. After that, I have a span of time where I am in education, where I'm getting some additional education for business for myself. After that, then I check some emails. After that, then I do some phone calls. I have every single part of my day scripted, every single part, down to eating. When I first started, I didn't have eating on my calendar. And you know what happened? I would go a day or two without eating because I was doing so much that it wasn't on my calendar. I was going so long without taking breaks. I still have hospital bills to this day that I need to pay because my body shut down when I wasn't time blocking and I was just running myself raggedy trying to get things done. Now I'm healthy, business healthy, family healthy, and I'm able to manage everything and get tons of things done simply by using time blocking. Additionally, time blocking can help you identify areas where you may be wasting time because that's really what happens. It allows you to make adjustments to your routine accordingly. And overall, time blocking is a valuable tool for anyone looking to increase your productivity and manage your time more effectively. If any of us, I'm pretty sure all of you guys can be a witness to this. The biggest obstacle that we have with trying to accomplish these goals is simply it just doesn't seem like we have enough time to get everything done, to take care of everything. You're working on your future goals, but you still have to eat today. You still have to prepare things for tomorrow. You have all of these things going on, and it just seems like you don't have enough time. When you time block, you see where your time goes. It's just like balancing a checkbook. Some people balance their checkbook to where they know where every single penny is spent. We focus a lot on that. Why don't we do the same thing with our time? The one thing that's more valuable than our money is our time. Money you can get back, our time we can't. But we're so strategic when it comes to our money, but when it comes to our time, for some reason, we just throw it away. But sometimes we don't realize we're throwing time away, and that's why we have to start time blocking. How do we do that? These are some of the tips for improving your productivity using time blocking. The first thing you're going to do is determine your goals and your priorities. You have to put your priorities in order. When God set everything up, He put the priorities in order. He had to put the sun first. Had He put the grass and the trees first and then put the sun third, all the grass and trees would have died. Does that make sense? Yes, He had to prioritize everything and the way that He did everything because it had to make sense. Okay? Some of you guys' goal was to purchase a home. Well, there are things that you have to get in order before you get there. You need to look at your credit report. You need to know what's on there. You need to look at the now if you have a good realtor like myself, I'll make sure that you understand what's going on in your particular area that you want to be in. But all those things require time and education. You have to prepare yourself. The average closing and down payment, for example, for a home, for the average home in the state of Georgia, is going to be about $20,000. Okay, that's typically how much money is exchanged with your down payment and your closing. Do you have savings? Have you taken the time to do that? You can't just jump out there and say, I want a house. I see it all the time. Everybody's like, hey, I want to buy a house. Okay, well, my lender has to check everything. They check your bank account. You got $150 in there. Your priorities have to line up with your goals. Okay, so the first thing you do is determine those goals and your priorities, get those in order. It's often very tempting to try to multitask. I'm guilty of it, juggling numerous workday tasks at any one time. While this may feel productive, it rarely produces the best results. My wife tells me all the time, you start a whole bunch of things, but how much of those things did you actually finish? This was before I started time blocking, of course. But now, because I time block, I have time scheduled out to get all of these things done. So by focusing on just one task at a time, you'll not only complete it, but you'll complete it to a higher standard and in less time than it would have taken you. This enables you to move seamlessly on to the next task. Okay? You have to remember, success isn't a big bang. It's a process. Okay? God didn't create the earth with a Big Bang theory. He could have. He could have just, boom, everything's here. But he didn't. Why? Because we needed to see it. Not because he needed it, because we needed to see how he did things. He put success as a process so that we can understand how to get from A to B. Okay? Two, we have to identify the tasks that need to be done to achieve those goals. So we have large tasks that can feel intimidating, and we often overestimate how long they will take to complete. That is something I'm still guilty of, and I do have to go back and readjust my time blocking because I have this mindset that, oh, simple, that's not going to take that long. I can knock that out just like that. But I don't maybe account for the roadblocks that may come. There may be different things in there that just may happen. Life, for example, right? You're planning on doing this, and boom, this happens. Your car breaks down. Someone passes away. um, there's a graduation or a wedding or something you forgot about, and you gotta be there. All these things just pile up, just like that large pile of clothes or anything, and it can feel intimidating for you to accomplish this goal. When they ask you for documentation and you don't have any idea where to get this documentation at, um, you have to create your own momentum by by breaking these tasks down into manageable bite-sized milestones. Those things are going to build until your actual goal, your project is complete. You need that assurance that everything is going to go well, that everything is going well, that you're doing a good job. You need to be able to give yourself a pat on the back. That's biblical. After everything that God created, before he went on to the next thing, he said, that's good. That is good. He patted himself on the back for the small thing that he accomplished on the way to accomplishing his big goal. We have to do the same thing for us. Some people, you don't have to raise your hand, but some people struggle with accepting compliments. They don't want attention. They don't want to be in the limelight. They just want to do what they do. But we need that. We need that extra boost that keeps that momentum going, that says, hey, you can do this, you can do this. Because what it's letting you know is that God is in control, and your faith and your work is producing something. Okay? You don't want to leave any room for the enemy to come in there and just like, well, that could have been a little better. It wasn't that good. I mean, you did all right. That's what we try to tell ourselves sometimes. But God said, tell yourself you did a good job. For example, when it comes to business things or setting your goals, something I do, you clear your inbox by answering 4 emails at a time throughout the day. I don't answer all of my emails at the same time. I have 2 different times a day that I do email. And that's it. I give myself 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. That is it. If it doesn't get done in that amount of time, oh well, that's me. If I get on social media and I'm supposed to be doing business things, I have an alarm on my phone, through Facebook, for example. It will pop up and say, you have now been on Facebook for 30 minutes. When that hits, I log off. There are times when I have not done what I was supposed to do during that 30 minutes. And you know what I say? Oh, well, you didn't handle your business. Now you're behind, and you move on to the next task. I have to consequence myself because that keeps me focused on accomplishing my goals. If you don't set those boundaries with yourself, you're not going to accomplish those goals because you're going to give yourself some slack. And trust me, the enemy is going to help you give yourself some slack. It's no big deal. You'll get it done later. You didn't really have to do that anyway. He's going to do that. He's going to slip right in there, and next thing you know, a year, 2 years, 10 years have passed, and that goal never got that check mark in the box. You have to remember, although your goals should be way bigger than you can do by yourself. If your goal is not so big that you can't do it by yourself, it's not big enough. Your goal has to involve a supernatural occurrence to help you accomplish it. If it's not that big, if it's not that big, it's not good enough. That's where a lot of us stumble because that huge elephant is right there in front of us. But one of my professors, in Bible school, I remember coming to him being so overwhelmed, and I poured out all of this stuff to him. I just unloaded. You know what he asked me? One question, Stanley, how do you eat an elephant? I just looked at him. I'm like, man, I'm too overwhelmed to figure this out. What are you talking about? He said, one bite at a time. You can't look at the size of the elephant. You have to break these tasks down into very small chunks and take it one bite at a time. And tell yourself, I did a good job on that one bite. And instead of choking yourself to death trying to bite off these large chunks. Number three, you have to estimate how much time each task will take. And you have to learn this skill. You have to be good at this because if when you're way off, it's gonna snowball and you're just gonna lose track of everything and you're not gonna get it done. It may seem strange to suggest taking breaks in between everything when you're being productive. But regular breaks are very necessary and they help decrease your stress and they increase productivity. I don't know how many of you guys know, but I did research on the workday. The workday for us typically is 8 hours, right? And you get a little bit of break in the middle for lunch maybe, but you're going typically about 8 hours. Well, previously, before the 8 hour workday, it was actually split. You know how everybody typically in the middle of the day you get tired, you want to take a nap? Well, the previous workday actually was that way. You worked half of your work in the morning, you had time to go home, go to sleep, do all these other things, and then you came back and finished it later on in the day. Eventually, we switched over to the 8 hour workday, and that added a lot more stress and it decreased our productivity. But now, by law, many workplaces have to have the employees take breaks. If you work from home, like a lot of us do now, or you work in your office, there's nobody there though that's going to monitor your activity. This is where you have to step in and put those boundaries um, for yourself. God did it in between. He could have still did everything in day one if he wanted to, even if he didn't do it with a big bang. But after he said it was good, he didn't do anything till the next day. Okay, consider this like a Sabbath in between the steps of each goal that you take. You need this time to see that what you've done is good and to reflect on it. Use this time to step away from your work. Enable your mind to just kind of be free and just have rest. And then you come back with a renewed motivation and even some potentially new ideas, right? How many of you have woken up in the morning and your phone has updated overnight? God does that. He needs to be able to have access to us to give us updates in real time. You don't want to create something and it's already obsolete by the time it gets out. Now, I've been saying time blocking, time blocking, time blocking. If you haven't heard time blocking, you probably don't know what it is or what it looks like. This is an example of time blocking. You have to estimate how much time each task will take. Schedule blocks of time for each task in your calendar. These are examples of what time blocking is. You literally put from the moment you wake up all the way to the time you go to bed. And here's the kicker about time blocking. You can't do your time blocking in the morning on the day of. It has to be done the day before so that when you get up, you're already moving into your schedule. When you go to sleep tonight, you should know what you're going to be doing as soon as you wake up in the morning. It's not get up in the morning, now work on everything and create this. You're already behind at that point. Before you, and I promise you, your rest will be so much peaceful, so much more peaceful. You will sleep so much more sound when everything is in order for the next day. So this is what it looks like if you use a digital calendar. Many people like to actually write it. They have really great time blocking calendars where you can actually write. Because I'm on the go all the time, I do have a digital one, but I also have a written one where I write out all of my stuff. I write in time to eat, even if it's just 15 minutes. I have to just write eat. I have to write. I may put out a 2 hour block and just say family time. I may put an hour block and just say nothing, do nothing here. Whatever you need to do for you to still feel at peace and still be able to be at rest and get your goals accomplished, you put them all in there. Maybe you only do phone calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe you only go out and do these things on Monday. You schedule it however you need to, but make sure that every single step that you need to get is in there. Okay? You can even Google time blocking if you like, and it will give you some examples. But this is the most important step right here, what you need to do. This is the how to do what you need to do. Step 5 is simply consistency. Okay? Yeah, you can do all this stuff, but what happens when you just say, man, that feels good. That feels great. What if God just stopped after day 4? Well, we wouldn't have ever got here, right? Because it's easy to get on a roll and you feel like, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm ahead of schedule. Oh, yeah, everything is all right. And you lose that consistency. Many of us, our goals are halfway accomplished. Yeah, I have multiple businesses now, but I didn't a while ago because I had started several of them and I stopped right before I got to the end. If you don't exercise consistency, you're not going to make it to the finish line. How to do this best is called systems. Your systems will do the work for you if you just set them up. Okay? Set them up systematically. When I have a new client for real estate, I have a system. I have a welcome email that I send them. In that email, it's going to give them their next steps. In those steps, I've also put in there my transaction coordinator. I've also put in my lender. At that point, they know exactly what to do. Once I send this email, I give them details. They know what to do. They follow that process, and then they kick them back to me once we get to a certain process. Once we get to a certain point in the process, you have to put these systems in place. Okay, I have systems that go out, that email and text all of my people at the time spans that they like. They're like, man, I like that house you just sent me. I didn't send them a house. I don't even know what they're talking about, to be honest. But my system that I have set up, it sent it out. I know that they like to see houses every day or 2 times a week. So I put it in my system, and my system sends them houses every day, 2 times a week, once a month. And they think, man, you're so efficient. You're handling all this business. Well, it's my systems that I put in place. That's those systems. It doesn't matter how smart you are. If you have a good system in place, your system will outwork your smarts any day. You don't have to be the brightest crayon in the box. Get you a good system. That system will set you up for consistency, and you're going to accomplish those goals just like clockwork. Number 6, evaluate your progress regularly and make changes as needed. This is exactly what God did, right? He evaluated everything that he made. Once he was satisfied, then he prepared for the next task. You have to evaluate your stuff. And think about this. We often say, yes, God created everything in 6 days. Yes, but there was another creation that God made that we look over, okay? After God created Adam, he went back and said, man, yeah, I said you were good. It wasn't good. He reevaluated and said, man, it's not good for you to be alone. And then what did he do? He went and created woman from man. Don't be afraid to shift your plans when you need to. How many of you guys have watched Shark Tank? Well, all these people go on Shark Tank. They have these great ideas and this great business, and they come in there with this idea of this is what it's going to be. And the sharks say, well, but if we do this and this and that, and that and that, then your business will go to the next level. And I want 30% of your business, by the way. And they walk out of there. Some of them are able to kind of still be successful, but a lot of them walk out of there with the best thing that they could have ever seen right in front of them, and they walk away because they are so stuck on what their initial plan was. They're not able to shift when they need to shift to take them to the next level. It doesn't matter what shark you get, for example, on Shark Tank. If you get a shark, you're going to end up being successful. It doesn't matter if they get 25% of your business or 10%. You're going to be successful. Sometimes you have to be open for the shift, okay? Don't be afraid of that. So the other thing that God went back and created after day 6 is over and everything was good, even after he created Eve, what did God go back and do? He had one more creation. It says once God had created them, he then went and planted a garden and created a garden just for them to put them in. After God accomplished the goal, which was us, he did all these things to accomplish that goal. He celebrated it. He even went back and added the woman to make sure that Adam could actually do what he was supposed to do. So I guess God knew we just weren't going to do right. So he went ahead and created that woman to make sure, hey, try to keep him on track, all right? Well, then he took that goal. He didn't just sit in it. He put that goal in a garden. He says, now you tend to this garden, and now you guys are going to be responsible for repopulating the earth. These goals that we have to accomplish, they're not the end. That's just a stepping stone. Your goal has a bigger purpose. Your goal, like a garden, is meant to outlive you. That's the purpose of planting a garden. You're planting something that's going to outlive you, and it's going to feed people from generations to come. That one garden God planted right there is still literally feeding us today. Your goals have to be bigger than you. Your goal needs to be able to feed people farther down the line, long after you're gone, because anything that we do for Christ is going to last. So all of our goals, that's why the number one thing was being able to be connected to our energy source, because which is God. If we're not connected to God, then He's not going to be a part of our whole process. And it kind of just takes our focus off of Him. He has to be a part of the process because everything needs to reflect back to Him. We're going to leave here, but the things that we plant in His name, they should stay forever. So once you accomplish your goal, you can celebrate your achievement, reflect on what you learned during the process, and then you set new goals to continue growing and progressing. It's important to acknowledge your accomplishment and use that as motivation for your future endeavors. I believe this is yes. So this is the end of the presentation. Just dealing with being able to manage your time, using your time that God gave you wisely. He taught us to be good stewards of our time, and we throw it away. But now we should be able to reorganize and go back with the plan, put everything out, lay it out, and then time block every single goal that we need. After we've prioritized, we time block, we make sure that everything is in line and that it lines up with God's will. And from there, that God literally gave us from the very first words that He spoke in the Bible, He gave us the blueprint to success. All we have to do is follow what He said to do, then wash, rinse, and repeat. That's it. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Amen. That's it. Mm-hmm. Come on, that's right. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. Amen. Praise God for that. Mm. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Amen. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Mhm. That is a great question. Um, what I would say is one, um, evaluate what you have and where you are. You're still always going to start um, with that because that's going to determine the steps that you need to take to get to where you're trying to go. So, just like GPS, it all starts with where you are right now. So, and I know that sometimes we can feel lost. It's hard sometimes to take inventory of what you have because of all the spinning around that that has happened with us. But you'll have to be able to take that time because the one thing that I didn't cover in this, for example, was day 7 where God just actually just rested. It was like vacation, right? He could have just left off day 7 because he was done with everything, but they added in day 7 was a day where it was just rest. That was a vacation for God. So many times when you get there, we see Jesus did the same thing. Whenever things got so heavy for him, what did he do? He went off by himself. That was like, it wasn't like like vacation like us, like going to Cancun, but that vacation time, that time away, it removes all the distractions, and it allows God to just speak to us. It allows us to clear our mind, and that's very, very necessary. It's very necessary for us to be able to have that space because honestly, he's the one that's really going to kind of give us the idea of where we are and where we want to get to. He's the one that's going to be able to put everything back into a perspective for us. He'll have us to write down our priorities and our list, and he's the one that's going to help put that back in order. I know that may sound cliche, but really, this is part of his strategy to take the time by yourself, remove all the distractions, everything from around you, and really just look at it. Once you do that, once you separate everything else, remove all the noise, then you'll be clearer and you can see and you can hear and you can feel and you'll know where you are and you'll be able to move forward from there. Did, did that answer the question in the way you were looking for? Oh, okay, okay. Yes. Last thing I'll say is don't be afraid to scrap everything and start over. God had to do that too. Remember, once he got this big goal created, he told them go be fruitful and multiply. They multiplied the earth. Everything was going according to plan. But what happened? Things went awry and he wiped it all away. He kept a little bit, just enough to restart, and he started over. Sometimes we're gonna have to do that. And if you try to hold on to that because you put so much effort and time and everything to it, if you keep trying to hold on to it, all you're going to do is prolong the inevitable and you're going to live a life of regret. So don't be afraid. If everything just falls apart, he still kept a little bit, just enough to restart. That leaves him with some confidence because he said, hey, not everything I created was bad, it just went bad. Okay, so let me take this little bit and replant these seeds, and we're going to start over. And this time I'm going to do it differently. So don't be afraid to do that because sometimes you're going to have to start over because we know that Noah knew a flood was coming, but we don't know if everybody knew the flood was coming, right? They were just out there doing their thing. Sometimes we're not going to know that the flood is coming, and things are just going to get wrecked in our lives, right? Things happen. Life happens. When life happens, sometimes you have to start over, and when you do, start over, pick up, Know that God's got you. Use that same confidence and rebuild better. Man. Oh, my pleasure. The pleasure is truly mine.